Hey Jodie, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
Good. We've got Jodie Nolan here today, and Jodie's going to join us for our 30 Days to Financial Fitness Challenge that I've got happening at the moment. So thank you so much for your time, Jodie.
No, you're welcome.
I have to say, you're one of the inspiration for me starting this challenge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Just to fill everyone in on the background, I've known Jodie for many, many years, and in a previous life, when I had Profile magazine, Jodie has been one of my beautiful cover ladies, and we covered her story. And what I'd love just a little bit from you today, Jodie, a bit about who you are and your story. But just to fill in further, I've also spoken recently to Jodie too, and Jodie really helps women, in particular mums, really change their financial position. And you've got a group which you can tell us about too. And, you know, it was really sort of a sparked conversation that we had. I went, wow, I need to get my shit together. So you gave us some really good inspiration. So a little bit about you and your story, if you can.
Okay, thank you. Well, in a nutshell, I've got 20 odd years in the finance industry. I've also got a master's of applied finance, which is pretty much the highest degree you can get in money. So I've come from this background of always being in the wealth and financial planning industry, where I was number one for one of the big four banks. I think I was about 27 at the time as a financial planner, which is no mean feat in itself. And then from there, I went into another financial planning firm, and then the GFC hit. So prior to that, around about 28, I was multimillionaire many times over. So it was something I was quite proud of. Had built my wealth up myself, all that sort of stuff. Didn't start with a leg up. And then the GFC rocked us. My husband and I lost many millions in that. From share market investments going under to having to sell commercial properties, sell residential properties, and ultimately selling our family home and walking away with barely anything. So fortunately for us, we were able to stave off bankruptcy, which not a lot of people can do these days. But it's awful. It's really awful. And so I understand what it's like when people come to me and they say, we're on the bones of our bum, we're living pay to pay, we've got credit card debt, we're struggling. How do we get back up? How do we even get started in a lot of instances? So, so my passion, I don't do financial planning anymore in so much as, taking fees for giving people advice on where to put their money. I'm more passionate about teaching women specifically how to get ahead with their finances. So it's more around the education side of things. And that's fueled from a desire that's come out of being really educated, being really knowledgeable in the industry, and still losing millions myself. So I kind of think, what does the average person, what hope do they have if they, don't even have all this education and experience? So, so that's my big thing now. I absolutely love it. I've put together a program called Rich Mum, and that's just an online thing that anybody can do. It's only $47. So it's really sort of a very affordable way for people to start finding out where they need to get ahead. And then we've got, the business coaching and all that sort of stuff. But basically, it's just all around empowering women to get really savvy with their money. And it's not just, do you have a budget? Because, people are over that and they really want tangible strategies. Okay, so I've got a $20 a week surplus. Do I put that on my mortgage, or do I pay it on my credit card, or do I start a share investment and dollar cost average into it? What do I do? So, so that's my thing. That's my background.
Yeah, and we'll put a link into that program too, ladies. So the ladies who have joined us for this challenge are all over it. They're right. Look, a lot of them are like coaches like me or online entrepreneurs, and a lot of them are finding like they can make money and it goes out again. Or they're just making a little bit. But I'm a great believer that you can make however much you earn. So whether it's this much or this much, you can make it work for you. So some questions I want to ask you today are around, your tips on that. But I also want to point out before we go into that during that time when the GFC hit and, things were really, really full on for you, you had a family as well, didn't you?
Yeah. So I was in hospital having my daughter, my first child, when all this stuff happened. And call it the universe and whatever it is, but, if I hadn't have had her, I would have been in a position to stem the bleed. You know, I would have been able to be all over my margin calls where there were none. But you know what I mean? So when the market's dropping, I would have been in a position to start mitigating my risk. But I wasn't. I was in hospital having my daughter. So I got given this incredible gift and then lost all this other stuff. So for me, I just felt like I was robbed of her, you know, the beginnings and whatever else. And then, but then that in itself was bad enough. So I get out of hospital 6 weeks later, I find out how bad it really is. And then I fell pregnant with my son straight away. I think Madison was only 3 months old. So I kind of believe that was meant to happen for a reason, you know, because I couldn't self-medicate with alcohol then because I had this newborn baby and I was pregnant, so I can't drink. And it sort of made me have to really address everything and realize that I've got these two precious beings, because at times I was really low, like low. So low, I didn't think there was any hope. I couldn't find an out. So it's the most heartbreaking thing on the planet, to feel like there's no hope. And I totally. And so then going through the process of trying to hang on to assets when I didn't have a job, I had no income. We're having to sell assets and do all that sort of stuff to try and stop the bleeds. And then it was just all too hard. It just snowballed. So the kids were only 1 and 2 sort of when it all petered out. And and they're 7 and 8 now. So it's going back a little while. But in that time since then, it's given me real clarity on, you know, there's actually a succinct structure. And once you get one sort of thing right, the snowball effect happens. And the thing that I loved, you said, you know, it doesn't matter what you're earning, whether it's this much or this much. That's so true. And once you start a few really good habits, you know, it does snowball, and you see it. I see it all the time in my coaching of women. It's incredible. Yeah. And but the big thing is if you have income, that's your biggest hurdle. So if you have no assets right now, but you've got an income, that's absolutely gold. So for me, I work with business owners, and the hardest thing is cash flow. You know, so if someone comes to me and they've got really good cash flow in a business, we can do tons of stuff to really harness that business and get it humming along well. But if someone comes in and they're struggling even just to get the cash flow going, then we're sort of starting to look at ways that we can get them out there on zero budgeting strategies and that sort of thing. Yeah.
So tell us then, you know, what were some of those key strategies that you had going forward to, you know, get you out of that hole?
Yeah, okay. They always do that, don't they? Just when you're trying to say, be quiet, mummy's working. The joys of entrepreneurial businesswomen. Exactly. Look, probably the biggest thing for me was stopping the bleed. So for me, and that's the big thing, because a lot of people will say, oh, you know, I'll get to the credit card, or I'll pay that off, and there's no fun in putting an extra $100 a week on a credit card. Nothing. And there's no motivation for you to try and pay that down. And then you kind of think, well, I put $50 on it or $100 on it, and then I buy $100 worth of stuff. So I'm just playing this. So there's strategies that we can do to isolate that debt and just put it over here, crystallize it, and then we just send money to there, and you just never think about it again. Yeah. And then what do we do with the money over here? You know, so this is all the stuff that I started to do. I didn't have a lot of credit card debt, but I was losing assets. So, and then I didn't have the income to support the assets when they all started to fall down. And it was because they were all cross-collateralized. So, you know, when one thing goes, it all does. And then from there, it's about getting really, really smart with trying to create a surplus. And when you've got a surplus, even if it's an extra $10 a week, whatever the surplus is, identifying the stuff that makes your heart sing when it comes to money. So my biggest driver is I love to look at my total situation and see what my investment portfolios are doing. So it doesn't matter to me necessarily that, you know, I'm wearing an expensive suit to a meeting. I would prefer to put that money into my share investments each month and then watch, you know, the dividends that come from that and how that makes me money. So then we need to start educating women on how do we do this. There are so many options. It's not just having to have a family home and pay it off. You know, there's so many things that we're doing. And then from there, we start to say, okay, well, you're trying to create assets that are going to make you money. So you're working in the relationship, your partner's in the relationship if you have one, and then all your investments are in the relationship, and you all need to be pulling your weight. You all need to be working and making money. So, and that's sort of creating that mindset, that entrepreneurial, that real, we only do something if it's either going to make us money or make us happy.
Yeah. And do you know what, Jodie? I think this is the real key of one of the reasons why I started this challenge. It's because of that whole, it sounds like common sense to make our money work for us, but most people are not doing it. You know, I've just started doing it myself. So, you know.
Oh, no, you haven't. You've had magazines, you've had subsidiary businesses. I mean, to be honest, you've got the runs on the board for the last 15 years. So but maybe right now you're going back to revisiting new things. But you always have that.
And it's more about, you know, I really want to empower women to go, you know what, the money that you can, just that little bit that you can put away over here is not about budgeting in any way, shape or form. It's not about sacrificing or going without. It's actually about going, hey, instead of, you know, maybe instead of buying, like for me, it's coffees. I love coffee. So instead of buying coffees out all week, that same money I'm putting into my wealth account. My husband and I are playing this game at the moment. So we're like, how much did you put in this week? How much did you put in? I'm like, I put 20% of all my earnings in, you know, so I put $3,000 in. So I'm starting to get really excited about putting that money over there, knowing it's going to work for us, not just in and out the door.
Yeah.
And I think there's, in the entrepreneurial space at the moment, there's this real thing of like, yeah, let's live the high life. Let's travel. Look, I traveled all over the world last year and I'm still traveling this year, but I'm now being a little bit more conscious about it, going, okay, I choose to do something better with my money. So it's just these little choices. It's not about going without in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, it's the little things. Like people say to me, oh, you know, you're so lucky because, you know, you might have 150 acres in Mullaney. And I think, well, you know, we've had to maximize bang for buck. You know, I haven't gone and bought a big mansion in Mullaney. We're having to start small. And one day when we've got the big mansions back and all that sort of stuff, people will be like, you're so lucky. But meanwhile, they're driving around in fancy cars or, you know, they're going to the movies every weekend. I haven't seen a movie at a movie theatre for, I couldn't tell you, maybe 3 years. So, but, you know, then I still like the diamonds. I still like going to getting my hair and nails done, you know, so it's just about then finding what the priorities are. But there's so much bleed in people's situation. They don't see it often. You know, it's the little magazine subscriptions that go out that you don't notice. It's the little PayPal things that you're subscribed for that's $15 here and $15 there. And when you do an audit of your financial affairs, it is amazing how much money you can free up. And even just changing your perception. Like I've got one client and she has a particular bottle of wine that she likes and it's $17. So it's not dramatic. But when we worked out how much she was drinking and that she could perhaps get another bottle of wine that was something similar around $11 and then potentially what that might save, she was absolutely gobsmacked just at that little saving. So I think when even, you know, and then it's not about saying, no, you go without your wine and you don't have to drink really cheap wine, but just to say, okay, well, what are my options? So, you know, and other people that might be, you know, they go to and they get a pedicure every fortnight. Well, maybe it's once a month instead. And then for other people, it's a matter of being really mindful with the grocery shop because they just want to here and want to there. And next thing it's $300, you know, when they could have really gotten away with $150 worth of stuff that week. And then $100 a fortnight for an investment portfolio is phenomenal. And then when you look at the compounding effects of interest over time, you know, that will just naturally grow because it's got the compounding effects of capital growth plus income over time. And you know, that's astounding in itself.
Yeah.
And then the other thing just to quickly mention is that sometimes it's nice to take stock of where you're at and where you want to go. So a lot of people don't tend to have a clear focus of how they see their future and they don't know because they've never audited their situation. They don't really know where they're at. So, and what I mean by that is what's all your assets in one spreadsheet? What's all your liabilities? What's your LVR? Don't you love bubbers? And then to really do a really good stock take, a really good audit of where you are, because sometimes in the money, it's got this energy attached to it. And everything about money has an energy. And so for a lot of people, the energy around money is scarce and fearful, and I never have enough, and I'm never gonna have enough, and it's this energy that they place on it. And I'm always saying, just change your energy around how you approach money. And that can be as simple as how you think about it, how you talk about it. So there's so many facets, and I love this 30-day challenge that you're doing, because you can address so many elements, and all of those put together means it's not just about a bit of knowledge here and there. It's about going, you know what, when we're saying to the kids all the time, we're poor, we can't afford that, you're just reinforcing it in your head that money isn't going to come into you. Whereas if you keep focusing on, I am, I have, all of those abundance sort of words, then it's amazing where it comes from. It opens up. It's really quite astounding.
Yeah. So, what I love about you, Jodie, is that you have this real practical side of you. It's like, take the 100, I think a lot of us forget that the $20 subscription here and the $50 here each month really, really adds up. So I love that you take this real practical element of it, but then you are, very girly, and you have all of these, wonderful things that you also spend your money on. Because I think for you, it's about us playing with our money, isn't it? It's about us seeing it as fun.
Yeah.
And as something that is exciting. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the more you learn about it, it becomes, it's like when someone goes on a diet, right? And they start losing weight, and then they're telling everybody, and anybody that's even 5 kilos overweight, they're telling you really should go on that diet because, it's really good. It's making you feel amazing, and you get that all the time. And money's the same. When you start learning about it, when you start seeing the results for yourself, even just something as simple as decluttering your money areas, decluttering your office spaces, getting really clear on where your bills go. And if you've just got a pile that you throw into a drawer, and it's even the same when it comes to your wallet and your purse. Having actually what I should do is try and find, I've got $100 million notes somewhere. I should try and find them and send them to you, because that would be really cool for your delegates or your members to have $1 million note in their wallet. Yeah. And it's just that every time you open your wallet, you see it. So the mindset's already there, So and having a cleared wallet, respecting money, and then just starting to appreciate it. There's a very clear method for it. But when you do, it's amazing what comes in, and it's quite exciting.
And how much do you do on, say, like an energetic level, like in terms of your frequency, because I'm very much about working with the universe, being at the same level of frequency to be able to receive, I do everything, like from, I've worked out the feng shui corner of my house.
Yay!
I've had someone actually, give our house a review. So we've got our money in there. We've got little trinkets and things. To what you were saying, like on my desktop behind you is actually a big fat check for myself. Like what Jim Carrey did,
that was awesome.
So I do a lot of that stuff. What about you? Like, do you have any of those metaphysical things?
Yeah, so let me tell you a story. I paid thousands of dollars when we were building. We had a big marble and glass mansion on the Sunshine Coast that overlooked the ocean, and you couldn't be built out. And it was this big $3 million home. It was beautiful, and all imported marble. And I had big marble up the walls, and it was just beautiful.
It's on the cover of our magazine, Profile magazine.
Yeah. See, yep. So, and then that place there, I had a lady come up who was a feng shui specialist from Sydney. A friend of mine, Rachel Birmingham, brought her up actually. And she came in, the first thing she said, when you open my massive big doors out onto this big expansive windows of the whole coast, she said, we need to block something in that doorwell or you're going to lose all your money. And I went, we've just spent a fortune so that when you open it up, all you see is glass and the views. And she said, I'm telling you, you need to have some sort of block there as you open the doors. And I said, well, you can't because the staircase goes down. And she said, I'm just saying that, and literally 18 months later, it's all over Red Rover. So
because you didn't block anything, did you? Because I remember that doors and it was just gorgeous looking out to the big view. It's very expansive.
Yeah, didn't do it. So you could look at that and go, oh, that's a coincidence. But, people, the Chinese particularly, spend millions and millions and millions trying to get the energies right. I struggle personally to get my frequency up high enough, unless I'm around like-minded people. So, I talk to you and I'm like, because I'm around the like-minded person who's got the same sort of vibe, that vibe attracts your tribe thing. But yeah, definitely I'm a big fan of it can't hurt. It can't hurt to have the affirmations. It can't hurt to have the feng shui, your office done nicely. Work within your means. A lot of people think, oh, well, when I can afford this, I'll have that. It's just working within your means. And I really believe that with decluttering, as lame as that sounds, comes new energy. Because while your world is jam-packed with all this stuff and you haven't collectively sorted it through and put it in a space, in your own brain even, it clutters everything up. So when you start to declutter and you start to go through things, what you're doing is you're saying, I'm creating room for something new to come in, new experiences, new lines of income, new clients, and that is really, really, really powerful.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've done this on many, many occasions. I'm talking about literally decluttering my wardrobe brings in new clients.
Yeah.
Office space as well. I have my office feng shui too, and where I was sitting as well, I have my back to the door.
Oh, yeah.
Like big bills just arrive out of nowhere. Like it's that whole not seeing what's coming.
Yeah.
Look, I've even got a horse staring at me.
Oh, see, that's magnificent.
Yeah.
See, in my house now, I love elephants for some reason. I've got a paddock full of horses out there, but I love elephants as well. And so I've got these two beautiful elephants, but I always like their trunks up. If the trunks are down, I won't have them in the house. So little things like that. You intuitively, there's even a decluttering book that says if if an item doesn't bring you joy, you shouldn't have it.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of that philosophy now. I only surround myself with things that I love. And sometimes I'll go to an antique market or a flea market and I'll find the most amazing piece of something. It might be a chair, and there's beautiful energies attracted to that chair. I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. It sounds woo-woo. But when you start even putting your shoulders back and you're very assertive and you started to declutter and you're taking your power back, just even those things. I work with a lot of women in startup in their coaching environments, and they're having to learn to sell from the stage and they're having to do all that, and their confidence isn't quite there because they don't have the runs on the board yet. And then I see them even just adopting a stance of when they're talking to clients, whatever. And then over time that becomes natural, and then they don't even see it, but I see it, and so I often get them to video themselves as they're talking to me, and I'll say, do you see how you were slumped in your chair and you weren't quite sure and you were like saying sorry a lot, and then here it is a year later, look, compare the interviews of you and I on the video conference, and they're, they radiate this amazing energy. So yeah, your 30-day program, is gold, because all of that in it is just beautiful.
Absolutely. And I think too, the reason I did 30 days, I was originally going to do 90, but I'm like, you know what, 90 days, people get bored. So ladies, it's 30 days. Like that's all you have to do just for 30 days. So I guess, could you just give us a quick little wrap up, maybe of like your 5 top tips? So these women are all women who, are either relatively new in their business or they're earning money, it's going out the door again. What's your 5 best tips?
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's good. Off the cuff, I would say, okay, so the first thing, especially if they're already in the habit of the money's going out or it's not really coming in, so the first thing that I would do is try, the first thing, declutter. Go to the office, go to the area that you keep your bills and your monies. Is it a drawer you shove it in? Is it a tray that you just throw your bills on and you pay and just throw it there or whatever? How do you do your money stuff? Start decluttering those areas. Then, at night, sometimes I'll put the kids to bed and I'll go and do the laundry cupboard, or I'll go and do the pantry. So just try to once a week declutter something. The second thing I'd do is stop the bleed. So I'd like you to get 5 highlighters and go through and have a look at all of them. So just maybe just start with 3 to start with. So what bills can I not do without. So that might be your mortgage and the car loan or whatever. And then pick a colour and mark everything that you can't do without in that colour. That might be pink. And then the yellow, go through and mark all the stuff in yellow, like your insurances and your electricity and your phone, things that if you rang up and negotiated, you could possibly get cheaper. You kind of need them, but and then go through maybe with a green and highlight all of the alcohol, the shopping, the Target, the Kmart, the Sears, whatever, over like a guilty of online shopping, all of that stuff. So do all that in green. Now, if you go through and find the whole thing is pink and you've got very little green, then you're really living tightly. You're going, I don't have surplus income. There's no such thing in my house. But if you go through and find that half of your statements are green, oh my God, that excites me so much, because that's so much room to move. And that's not about cutting your expenditure. That's just about being mindful of your spending. So part of that's stopping the bleed then. So that's my idea of a budget. That's not sitting there doing spreadsheet. That's my budget. So although I do have a detailed budget, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the second one is stop the bleed. So when you're going through your statements, what are the subscriptions you can do without? What's the internet stuff that you're paying for that you don't need? Some domain names that you registered 10 years ago, all those sorts of things that you can really just slash, and then work out how much that adds up to, because that will be quite significant. And there's things that you can do with that, which we can discuss another day. The third thing I would do is take a snapshot of your current financial position. And what I mean is, what's my house worth? What's the mortgage? What's my credit cards, cars? Do like an assets versus a liabilities. And make a note to do it. Like this time of year is brilliant because it's the end of financial year. And so it gives you a really powerful way of getting a snapshot as at this year. So the benefit in doing this, it's like an annual general meeting for your family finances, is that this time next year, you'll look at it and you'll be able to see that you've made headway. And so a lot of people get caught up and they think, oh, we're not getting anywhere and this is happening. It's all frustrating. But if you can look next year and go, you know what, our house is 10 grand more and we've paid off 10 grand, that's 20 grand in that year that we've made. We've started a share investment. Our super's increased by 50,000. There's so many awesome positives. And especially a couple who struggles with money, that's a beautiful thing to do because you're on the same page and you're moving forward. The fifth thing that I would do, so this is the fifth thing, yep.
This will be fourth.
The fourth, is it?
You can just do fourth. That's all
right.
No,
it's okay. I could talk for 100 years on this stuff. So probably the fourth thing then is be open to learning. Be really open. And so if you hear a piece of information come in and you go, no, I wouldn't do that. So I wouldn't do shares. I'm not into shares. Just calmly be open just to learning. You don't have to do it. But the more you learn, the more you become aware. Listen to when they're talking about what's happening in our economy around us. Just stop for a second and just listen to what they're saying. Be more in tune with finances and money. It's so easy just to dismiss it as boring and this and that. And then you will take on little nuggets, and those little nuggets will serve you really well. Especially down the track when you start to go, okay, well, I understand what an interest rate increase means. How does that affect me? What do I need to do, rather than just blindly going along, still paying your mortgage and not really thinking about things. Yeah. So really think about it, really be aware of your environment. And the fifth thing's the big one. That's the changing your money mindset. Stop saying you're too poor. I got no money. I can't go out. I'm never going to have. I wish. Just really stop all of that. And I know this from experience. In my 20s, when I was powering along and making a lot of money and investing a lot of money and buying a lot of stuff, I don't ever recall ever thinking that something wasn't possible. Like even before we lost it all, we were looking at a $2.5 million yacht that we were going to put in the Whitsundays and charter out. Nothing was ever, I look at that now and just go, oh my God, what was I thinking? But it wasn't beyond the realm of possibility. So just really allow yourself to just go, you know what, today I'm going to draw a line in the sand. And from today, I'm going to pull myself up every time I say something negative. So for me, one of the hardest things for me is body image. So for me, every time I go, ugh, you're so overweight or something like that, I have to really stop and pull myself up. But the money stuff, I don't seem to have too much of a drama with. But so I resonate with that with other people. I'll hear them talk and I'll let them talk, and then I'll say, hey, 3 times I just heard you say in the last minute, you can't, you won't, you shouldn't. So yeah, the big thing is the mindset. And it's ironic that if you were to just declutter, just go through and work out if you've got a lot of green, just stopping the bleeds of the subscription stuff, just starting to allow yourself to be aware of the money environment around you, hearing people talk, seeing it in the paper or whatever, and then starting to really embrace that, sure, we can have that one day. Absolutely. Yep. No worries at all. Rather than that's a stupid idea, that's probably the most key places to start.
Awesome. So good. I knew that you had lots of gold to give us.
Anytime, sweetie, anytime. You're amazing. I'm one of your biggest fans. So whatever you need or whatever your students need, you just sing out and let me know.
Awesome. Great. Well, we're going to pop the link in the Facebook and on my email that's going out as well for this. So we really appreciate it, and lovely to see you. And we'll let you know how we go at the end of 30 days with our financial fitness.
Sounds perfect. Thanks for the privilege and good luck.
Thanks, Jodie.
Take care. Bye.